Thank you very much again. So the Industrial Revolution brought a level of economic growth that has never been existing in humanity before. And this growth has been the fuel for incredible growth, incredible things happening, taking hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. Unfortunately, this progress does come with a price, and we are consuming resources at a pace that will bring companies to bankruptcy and human species to struggle on Earth if we don't take immediate measures. And that's the reason why today we want to imagine a future that looks greener, cleaner, and more equal than the world that we live in today. And this is my proposal for this short session. It's to explore a world of 3 zeros, a world of zero emissions, a world of zero waste, and a world of zero inequality. So let's go ahead and let's start talking about zero emissions. So at SAP, our customers approach us to talk about sustainability. And it happens a lot lately. Why is this happening? The first place is that there's a new body of regulation, a new legislation, and they want to be compliant with that regulation. This is the accountability space. Second reason they reach out to us is that they have learned that until very recently, sustainable products have a justification to be more expensive. But now, in many countries, consumers are telling them, if this customer has used less water, if this product has used less water, has used less fuel, has traveled less kilometers, why should it be more expensive? It should be cheaper. So they understand that the green premium, that extra price for the sustainable product, is evaporating, that window of opportunity is closing, and now a greener product should be cheaper. So they need to work on efficiencies. And this is the profitability space. And last but not least, they approach us because they understand that it's not enough with telling the final customer, hey, Mr. Consumer, I'm just compliant with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or I'm going to be carbon neutral in 4, 5, or 10 years. That's not enough. That's not what the consumers want to hear. They want innovation infused in products and services. They want real green products and services today. And this is the desirability space. So accountability, profitability, and desirability are the 3 reasons why they approach us. But the vast majority of our customers at SAP approach us because there's an urgency, and that urgency is that they want to be compliant with the new regulation. And I'm going to describe a little bit what has happened in the European Union and how is this affecting countries like Turkey. Until this year, it was enough for corporations to report their indicators on sustainability once a year. And they could just give a picture of how my KPIs look once a year. Now, instead of a picture, they need to report a movie. And that movie needs to be auditable and traceable. And that changes the whole game, because instead of having a mentality for sustainability reporting, they have a mentality to have a sustainability accounting system. And the reason why SAP is very strong here and why customers come to us is because we have been financial accounting systems for many years. And now our customers, to build up a world of zero emissions and to comply with regulation, need a sustainability accounting system. And not only this piece of regulation that is called Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive will now be in place, but also another piece of regulation which is called Sustainability Finance Disclosure Regulation for all the financial market players, that basically tells the banks that they have to report where they put their money. If that's in brown investments, in light green investments, or in green investments. And again, for that, they need to be reporting why they say that they are putting their money there and to justify what kind of investment that is. So all that is happening at a very rapid rhythm in the European Union. And you may think, okay, that's for the European Union, that does not affect me. If my corporation, my company, my small business is outside the European Union. Well, correct. However, if you want to trade with the European Union, there's something called the carbon adjustment mechanism, which is basically a tax. And the European Union says, okay, if you don't comply with my rules, then if you want to trade with me, you will have to pay some taxes at the border to adjust your carbon emissions. In any case, what we have learned is that these pieces of legislation are very travel very fast from one regions to different regions. So I think it would be only logical to start getting ready for this reality. And the reality is changing this mindset from sustainability reporting to a sustainability accounting system. What is the real difference? In the sustainability reporting mindset, what you do is just gather data and dashboard them and show them nice KPIs, okay? Now, in the sustainability accounting system, yes, you need to do that, but you need to make sure that you infuse the regulation, that you control the process behind it, and that means workflows, approvals, and that is very specific for every company. That you have the power to do data allocation. So if we're talking about greenhouse gas emissions or water usage, you name it, you need to be able to distribute that per product line, per geography, etc., etc., etc. And last but not least, and this is very important, you're able to steer the direction of your company. And only if you mix financial information with sustainability information, then you can steer the direction of your company. Because at the end of the day, that is what C-level executives want to understand. How much taxes am I going to pay? How is my financing going to cost? In which geographies do I have to do sustainable investments or not? Because remember one thing, any company can be sustainable tomorrow, but that company would go bankrupt. So sustainability is a journey, and you have to choose which are the investment decisions that you have made. And the last thing about a world of zero emissions, remember that we have talked about accountability, how you have to comply with new regulation, but we also have the desirability space. Let's not forget this. Let's not forget to really listen to our customers and understand what they want. The other day, I was talking to the CEO of a large conglomerate, and they produce yogurts. And he told me, we have changed the lid of a yogurt from plastic to paper. And do you know how many new customers we have? 0. They did a very good improvement, but they did it without hearing their customers. So that desirability, understand, is very, very important. So that's for a world of zero emissions. But it is much easier to get to a world of zero emissions if we produce less waste. So let's understand a little bit how to get to a world of less waste. And unfortunately, this world we live in is becoming less circular. Despite all the great efforts that we're doing, the reality is the circularity of our system in the world has gone down from 9% to 8% last year. This is a world where the link between resource productivity and CO2 consumption is very clear. So A recent study from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation shows that 45% of all CO2 emissions, so nearly half of all CO2 emissions, come from the creation of stuff that we buy, of products. So we see a huge impact on primary resource extraction, on biodiversity, and we can all understand that with the latest increase in the price of raw materials. We are in an exhausted planet. Every year in July or August, we have consumed all the resources that the planet can produce, and we have been doing this for a few years now. So we have to really slow down and convert this linear system into a circular system. And also the waste is the one that has become most visible in the environment, and that has caused a lot of public reaction, because we have 300 million tons of plastic produced each year. And 8 million of those tons enter the oceans every year. So at SAP, we look at this reality and we see vast amounts of data that can help us bring this story together and convert this line of take resources and waste them to a circle. And the idea is to evolve, as I said, that line to a circular model, but in every dimension of how we produce, how we source resources, how we consume those resources, how we recover and reuse those resources. And we need solutions for every part of this journey. So let's just take as an example the sourcing side of things, which are the raw materials that you buy, which are your providers. First, we need to implement the right filters, and we need to cooperate with those providers, with our suppliers, to make sure that sustainability criteria are now met. We need to work with them to make sure that we incorporate as little Scope 3 emissions in our value chain as we can. We need to secure that our inventory is minimized, that the minimum amount of waste arrives to the landfill waste. We need to make sure that we use proximity criteria. We need to make sure that we minimize transportation to reduce carbon footprints. So all those and more components are what we try to fit in our sourcing solutions like Arriva in a circular sourcing system. But whatever system you use, you need to make sure that these components are a critical part of how you source. And not only that, how, and in this reality, how do you really gather information of how sustainable your producers are? So it's not always in their hands to tell you how sustainable they are. There are independent pieces of data for this. In this case, we also have an agreement with EcoVadis to inject objective sustainability information from those suppliers in your supplier network. Now, once we have the right materials, we need to make sure that we also produce whatever we produce responsibly. And this is even more important in a world with a specific legislation on this topic, like EPR, the Extended Producer Responsibility. And this is even more important with more and more taxes on plastic. So the less plastic you incorporate in your products, the better for the environment and the better for the bottom line of the company, as you will have to pay less taxes. So we need the design of the product that does not only minimize the footprint, but also help us reduce our costs, as I said, and engage with the desires of the new consumers, as per the example that I described of the yogurt. So, by the way, we just launched last month responsible design and production to exactly fit these needs. But let's not forget that whatever materials we put on our products, we have to bring them back to the beginning of the cycle. So even if we dispose something, it has to be minimal, and then the materials need to end up where they need to end up, which is at the beginning of the cycle again, to start the production process again. So that those materials that do not make it to the beginning of the cycle go to the landfill, and this is an enormous, a huge new business opportunity. Waste is now an emerging business because companies are obliged to incorporate recycled materials in the production process. So materials are scarce, and the value of those materials that ended up in the landfills before is increasing and skyrocketing, and this is a huge new business opportunity for all of us to exploit. We explored a world of zero emissions, a world of zero waste, and we're gonna finish with a world of zero inequality, because at the end of the day, any objective that we have is achieved by people. So we not only have to incorporate in our accounting systems, sustainability accounting systems, criteria about the environment, we also have to do it about social factors and governance factors. And when we talk about governance, people just many times ask us, what is that about? Okay, this is about your diversity in your company, your compensation, gender compensation, the codes of conduct, to be really clear about corruption and bribery cases, how you deal with risk. That's the double materiality matrix. So how your company is affected by climate change and vice versa, how you are contributing to climate change. Your tax strategy, how is that affected by your ESG factors, etc., etc. All those governance factors has to be brought together under the same umbrella of environmental, social, and governance. And this is about zero inequality. So we just saw how to start this race, a race for zero emissions, zero waste, and zero inequality, because sustainability is a race. And the finish line of this race is to keep our society and our planet strong. Strong for us and stronger for future generations. The main difference of this race to any other race is that we run this not in isolation. We cannot win this race on our own. Sustainability is a network game, and we need sustainable business partners, we need sustainable providers, we need sustainable customers, we need sustainable consumers. We need you. We need to create a world of 3 zeros. Thank you very much.